Y'all remember what it was like back during COVID, right? Back when everybody was masked up, just posted up at the crib watching Tiger King? Well, when you think about it, that's the perfect setup for a slasher attack. So if you were chilling at your folks' cabin when a bunch of randos in ski masks pulled up and started throwing hands, what would you do? Well, don't worry, fam, because I'm here to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the COVID killers in Sick. We start off with this dude, Tyler, in the toilet paper aisle. But this ain't your average grocery trip. It's April 2020, at the start of the COVID outbreak. You remember those days. Everybody's masked up, the shelves are empty, and folks are ready to throw hands for a single roll of Charmin. So it looks like my boy is gonna have to hold it in. Well, Buddy's on his way to the register when he gets a text from an unknown number, but that's when things start to get a little sus. Cause while he's waiting in line, they send a picture from behind his back on some Diddy type and he can't figure out who it is, so he just flips off the entire crowd and keeps it pushing. He heads home and starts unpacking some groceries when he notices something strange. It looks like somebody opened the kitchen door, and when he goes to shut it, he hears the TV turn on in the living room. Stumped, he grabs the remote and shuts it off, but then out of nowhere, bam! Some random dude in a ski mask comes charging out with a knife and pins him against the wall. Just when it seems like he's cooked, he manages to get away and lock himself in the bedroom. But now he's trapped in there with only one way out, so he picks up a baseball bat and decides to run for it. But that was his biggest mistake, because just when it seems like the coast is clear, this dude pops up from behind and cuts his throat, making one down with 4 more to go. All right, well, I guess this dude's never heard of the 6-foot rule, but seriously, you guys, who are this guy's ops? The freaking League of Shadows? I mean, Buddy didn't even waste any time. He just went straight to piecing him up. I mean, that's pretty cold. But hold your horses, Buster, because if this was me in this situation, I'm not even gonna let it get this far, because let's say I'm doing my thing at the grocery store, right? And then, bam! These weird texts start coming through. Well, at first, I'd do the same thing as Tyler and just ask, who is this? But once things started to get a little creepy, I'd know exactly what to do next. As soon as this dude sent a picture of me from a few feet away, I would just call the number and blow up his spot. Like, honestly, bro, how do you not think of that? And even though he didn't answer, you could just tell by the angle that it was obviously the dude behind the guy in the checkered shirt. Like my guy's over here rocking a black shirt, black mask, and black sunnies with nothing but healthy items in his cart. Yeah, that's a serial killer, 100%. And then I would just walk up to him and ask him, what the hell is his problem? And if he tries to act like it wasn't him, I would politely ask him to take his phone out and prove it. And then what's he gonna do? He could try, but I'll just throw a shopping cart at him, dip to the car, and skedaddle. And then I'll let the police figure it out while I'm posted up at home with a baseball bat. But you know what's crazy? That wasn't even his only chance to catch this guy, because if he called me while I was in the car, I'd just hit the horn and listen for it in the background. Then I'd know if he was in the same parking lot, and I'd just look around until I see a guy on his phone. And then he would catch these hands. Well, not actually, like, I guess I would just call the cops or something, but trust me, he would be dealt with real proper-like. But okay, let's say I'm at the crib and I start thinking that there might be an intruder. Well, the moment I see some obvious stuff like the back door being open or the TV magically turning on, I'm picking up my phone, grabbing a weapon, backing up towards the nearest door, and then we're just gonna wait. But the second I hear a noise or see this dude creeping in the shadows, I'm gone. Then I'll just call the cops and that's that. Problem solved. So yeah, this one should be a piece of cake. Next, we cut over to a college campus where this girl Parker and her best friend Miri are about to head out on a road trip. Classes are canceled because of the outbreak, so they're going up to her parents' lake house to chill, but little do they know that somebody is about to crash the party. So they pull up to this absolutely sick crib somewhere in the mountains, and Parker mentions that the only neighbors are way on the other side of the lake. So the girls don't have to worry about any randos stopping by, or at least that's what they think. Well, just as they're getting comfy, Parker gets a text from, you guessed it, an unknown number. She replies asking, who is this? Not thinking too much of it. But then later, while they're out chilling by the lake, she gets another message daring her to jump in. Like whoever's doing this can literally see them right now. So yeah, she's starting to get a little creeped out. But since they both made posts about the trip, they figure that it's probably just her jealous ex, DJ, texting from someone else's phone. So Parker decides to just block the number and move on. Well, later that day, she comes downstairs to find the back door sitting wide open, which is pretty strange because she's sure that they closed it up. But she's probably just being paranoid, right? So she locks the door and decides to just ignore it. By now, it's getting pretty late, and the girls are just kicking back on the couch when they hear a strange truck pulling up in the driveway. They didn't invite anybody else out there, and nobody comes this far by accident, so whoever it is, they're here for a reason. Well, Parker's pretty sure there's a normal explanation, but our girl Miri ain't taking any chances, and she goes straight for a kitchen knife just in case there's any trouble. But just then, whoever's out there rings the doorbell, and when Parker yells out, "Who goes there?" they just start bashing on the other side of the door. So Parker's all like, "Give me the blade," and goes out there to mess this dude up, but when she gets outside, the dude's completely gone. Until all of a sudden, Maya turns around to find him standing right behind her. But it's just Parker's ex-DJ up to his usual antics, so it looks like they're good, at least for now. Alright, this dude needs to work on his game for real skis, cause showing up uninvited in the middle of the night is definitely not the movie. But even though it was just her goober ex, this still doesn't explain those weird texts or who opened the back door. So yeah, I'm not about to let my guard down so easily. Now, if it was somebody just trolling, then yeah, I would just block the number. But texting them to jump in while they're sitting at the lake is way too specific for me. So instead of blocking them, I would have just done the same thing I said before and just called the number. Then if this dude's posted in the woods, we might hear his ringtone, and then ba-ba-bam, we call the cops, grab some canoe paddles, and get ready to whoop his ass if he tries anything. But now that DJ's here, I would just ask him straight up if he knows anything about the text messages. And if he says no, I would call the number again right in front of him and make him show us his phone to prove that he's telling the truth. But this dude pulling up uninvited also brings up something kind of important, because like he's about to say, the only reason he knew where to find them was because they posted the addies on their Instas. Well, you guys already know I'm instantly against any plan that involves a cabin in the woods, but if I was dumb enough to go for whatever reason, I'm gonna make sure we lay down some ground rules. And that means no posting the address until it's over, the doors stay shut and locked at all times, and if anybody sees anything suspicious, they gotta tell somebody right away. And then we'll be good. But honestly though, I can see why they wanted to come chill out here. I mean, this place is pretty nice, but then I noticed something. Even though Parker's family clearly has a ton of guala, they don't have a security guard at this place, or cameras, or anything. And that got me thinking, like if I had the bread to afford a place like this, how would I set it up? First of all, I'm gonna have a security team there an entire day before I even show up. That way they can secure the perimeter, check the property, you know, like security guard stuff. Then I'm gonna install security cameras and floodlights covering every angle, high-tech laser grids, and even adopt a bunch of big old dogs in case that doesn't work. And of course, I'm gonna need a Blix on Blix on Blix, and I'm talking 9s on the nightstand, sticks behind the sofas, and a blammy in my jammies. And then we'll see what happens if somebody wants to run up. Now, needless to say, Parker is not too happy about her ex crashing the girls' trip, but the dude explains that he was just on the phone trying to lock down an internship. He says he decided to pull up after he saw their posts on Instagram because apparently he's been feeling a little jealous and wanted a chance to talk. And since it's already so late, they decided to just let him spend the night, but Miri's low-key pissed at bro for showing up. Well, as the night goes on, Miri starts to lighten up a little bit, and for a while things seem pretty chill. They're all just vibing, you know, telling spooky stories by the fire, that type of stuff. Until Miri decides that she's beat and wants to head up to bed. This gives the other two a chance to talk in private, but that's when things start getting a little awkward because DJ starts trying to smooth things over with Parker, but she's still over there giving the dude the cold shoulder. It turns out he's salty over a post he saw of her making out with some rando at a party, and he feels like she did it on purpose just to make him mad, but Parker's all like, "We were never that serious, my guy," and now Buddy's just salty because he caught feelings and she didn't. But dude's honestly coming off mad desperate, and that's when he tries pulling her in for a kiss. But Parker just curves him and says that she's going to bed. Like, damn bro, swing and a miss. Sorry, my man. But as he turns to go back inside, he has no idea there's some random dude in a shiesty just posted up in the bushes. Well, that's when DJ goes outside to grab his bag from the truck, but dummy ends up leaving the door wide open, and yeah, you guessed it, bro in the ski mask just casually walks right in behind his back. But nah, it's cool. I'm sure he's harmless, right? Meanwhile, the girls are upstairs talking about the whole DJ situation, and yeah, it turns out that Parker really is just trying to make him mad. Like, dang, Shorty is trifling. So Miri's all like, you should give him a chance, and blah blah blah, but the whole time they don't even realize that Pooh Shiesty's just chilling right there at the end of the hallway. There's a second where Parker almost turns around and spots him, but she decides to give her old pal Miri a hug instead. And by the time she goes back to the hallway, Buddy's already straight disappeared, so they still have no clue that he's even there. Alright, you guys, now I'm starting to see why Parker kicked this dude to the curb. Like, look, even if you don't think there could be anyone else out there, if there's one thing you should never, and I mean never do, it's leave the freaking door open while your back is turned. That's a straight up rookie move, and the minute I see a character do this, I already know it's game over for them. Like, you can go back to The Strangers, Scream, Halloween, take your pick. Somebody's always leaving the freaking door open, and every single time, they end up getting clapped a few seconds later. So if it was me, I'm keeping the doors shut and locked at all times. That way, if Buddy wants to sneak in, he's gonna have to at least make a little noise while he's doing it, and then he can't just slide right in like Santa Claus without anyone noticing. So how am I gonna survive this? Well, personally, I'm starting off with an advantage over everybody else, because you already know I'm sleeping with the door locked, especially if I'm out in the middle of nowhere. So that should at least give me a heads up if I hear the guy messing with the door, or hopefully I'll just get lucky and he'll go after somebody else instead. But the second I get even the slightest indication that there might be someone in the house, here's what I'm gonna do. Number one, I'm grabbing a weapon. I don't care if it's a lamp, a frying pan, a fire poker, or whatever. Then I'm pulling out my phone, putting it on silent, and getting ready to call the cops at a moment's notice. After that, I'm gonna start quietly sneaking out of the house while stopping to wake anyone I pass up along the way. That way, I'll have some extra meat shields in case anything goes down. And the best case scenario, I'll get the car keys, sneak outside, and then just post up in the whip while I wait for the cops to get there. See? Easy. Parker heads back to the living room where she finds DJ just scrolling on his phone. But while her back's turned, the dude takes the opportunity to sneak upstairs. And instead of giving her ex another chance, she just turns off the lights and heads up to bed. She even goes through her usual routine of brushing her teeth and plugging in her phone just like always. And if you didn't know any better, it would seem like a pretty average night, but old Buddy in the ski mask has other plans. Well, later that night after everyone is knocked out, the dude just goes around and swipes everyone's phones without them noticing. But that's just the start of his evil plan. DJ wakes up and realizes that his phone is gone, so he gets up and starts checking around to see where he left it. But suddenly, somebody starts blasting some corny 80s song from the speakers down in the basement. The music wakes up Parker, who gets annoyed, but when she reaches for her phone, it's gone. So she angrily gets out of bed and starts looking to give him the business, and when she hits the balcony, she peeps a shadow running by downstairs. But as she starts to yell, DJ suddenly grabs her from behind and whispers to keep quiet. Well, that's when the music stops, and Parker starts running to warn her friend before it's too late, but DJ stops her and says they need a better plan. There's an outdoor balcony at the end of the hall, and Parker thinks that she can climb down to the driveway, so DJ hands her the keys and says to go for the truck, while he goes back to rescue Miri. So that's exactly what they do, and Parker dips outside without any trouble, but instead of going for the truck, she runs straight over to Miri's window and gets there just as this dude's about to start splashing her up. But Miri wakes up just in time and rolls out of the way just as DJ comes in and starts wrestling for the knife. This gives her a chance to get up and run for the truck, all while DJ's still back there fighting for his motherfucking life. But he pulls a sick reverse and whacks the dude with a suitcase as he gets up and runs out of the room. The attacker catches up just as he gets to the door, but DJ spins around and absolutely wrecks him with a giant pair of antlers. But as he's charging up his finisher, the guy ends up shanking him straight in the leg, and that's when DJ realizes that he's in trouble. He stumbles back and goes for the door, but the dude catches up and launches him straight into the wall. And before he can get away, Buddy just starts carving him up like a Thanksgiving turkey, which is when the door opens and the girls are surprised to see DJ walking out. But nah, it turns out the killers got him stuck on a metal spike on some Weekend at Bernie's type stuff, and he straight up impales the dude right in front of them, making 2 down with 3 more to go. Well, damn, son. I mean, I wasn't really the biggest fan of this dude to begin with, but like, y'all ain't have to do my boy DJ like that. But the truth is, he's got no one to blame for what just happened besides himself. So yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that DJ here just f***ed up. Like, I'm not even gonna hold you, fam. You straight up did this to yourself because, for one, you should have never even been out here in the first place. But you decided to pull up on some weird stalker type talking about, like, I saw your post on Instagram. Like, that's gonna get you any play. And as if that wasn't bad enough, you went and left the freaking door open for Buddy to just waltz right in, and that's the whole reason this dude was able to creep up on you. But that's not even the worst part, because then, out of absolutely freaking nowhere, you decided to be a hero. And I mean, really? After the way they were clowning you? I'm sorry, DJ, but you're a better man than me. Parker, and especially Miri, made it pretty clear that they didn't want you around. And if that's the case, then no problem. As soon as the killer shows up, I'm dipping, and those two can figure it out for themselves. But alright, maybe I'd be a nice guy and at least wake them up, but I'm not about to go toe-to-toe with this dude for somebody who just told me to kick rocks. And look how they did you in the end. Parker could have easily stayed and offered to help, but nah. All you had to do was mention the idea of going to the truck, and she was all like, well, if that's your only choice. Like, brother, come on. If she's offering to help, then just let her. But Miri's even worse. I mean, she could have at least showed a little gratitude by helping DJ piece this guy up in the 2v1. But nah. She just straight up used my boy as a meat shield after he came in there and saved her ass. And now look where it got him. So yeah, DJ, I'm sorry, but you f***ed up. So the girls hop back in the whip and start dipping out of there, but there is a problem. Ski Mask already slashed the tires. So when Miri goes to hit a K-turn, they end up getting stuck. Suddenly, bro pulls up and chucks a massive rock straight through the freaking window, so they get out and run back for the house as Buddy comes sprinting after them at full speed. But they do manage to get inside just in time, so while bro's trying to break in, they run upstairs to the attic where there's a window they can use to sneak back out. But it's been a couple years since anybody's opened it, so yeah, that thing's jammed up worse than a Starbucks drive-thru, and it doesn't take long before old boy starts trying to bust in. Well, just when it looks like he's about to get through, Parker comes over and straight up launches Buddy down the stairs. Then she picks up some random box and chucks it through the window instead. So now they're able to climb out onto the roof, and for a minute it almost seems like they lost him. But then all of a sudden, bang, he grabs Miri straight through a window. She ends up losing her balance and just freaking plummets 30 feet straight to the ground. Parker looks down and sees her friend lying there in the Peter Griffin death pose. So she rushes back downstairs and goes running for the door, but then bam! Shiesty attack! So she doubles back and runs to the kitchen where she starts looking for a weapon to fight back. The dude catches up before she can find something, so she just hauls off and wrecks him with an entire drawer. But he gets up and grabs her from behind and starts launching her around the kitchen like a damn wrestling match. So Parker just starts throwing anything she can find, and believe it or not, she actually knocks Buddy down with a glass pitcher, and then just starts absolutely clobbering him with a tea kettle like, damn, Parker, I didn't know you had it in you. But yeah, she doesn't stop until dude's face is looking like some straight up burger meat, so I think it's pretty safe to say that he ain't getting up. But when she pulls off the mask, it's just some random dude that she's never seen before in her life. Another dude in a shiesty pulls up at the back door. That's right, you guys, we're dealing with two killers on some Ghostface type stuff, but while this new guy's busy crying over his friend's body, Parker hits the dash and dips out back. Alright, now things are really getting interesting, cause two killers? What, did these guys watch too many Scream movies or something? We're gonna need a plan, but first, let's run back the tape for just a second. Now, there's one other thing I gotta give these girls credit for, cause most of the time, people see a car with slashed tires and their brain just stops working. So at least they actually tried to drive away. But then why? Why did she hit a K-turn? Like, what was the need for that? The truck had backup cameras and everything. Just keep backing up until you hit the road, then you would have been good. But that's where it all fell apart, because after beating this dude back to the house, they decided their only choice was to go all the way up to the attic and try to freaking Spider-Man it across the damn roof. Like, really though? There had to be some better options than that. So yeah, me personally, I would have just locked the door, then ran over to lock the back door, grabbed a fire poker and the keys to the Rover, and then just posted up waiting for him to make a move. Then I'd just fight him off and dip to the range. Simple. But now we got an even bigger problem because it turns out Buddy wasn't working alone. But don't worry, because I know exactly what we're gonna do. But it is gonna involve using Miri as bait. So yeah, surprisingly enough, Miri is still alive. She's just real busted up now because, you know, gravity and all, but there's still a way that she can help. Now, Parker could have just snuck this dude while he was crying over his buddy, and that would have been it right there. But based on his reaction, this new guy is going to be angry, which means he's going to make mistakes. And that's exactly what we want. So before he gets up, I'ma get my hands on a weapon like a hammer, a paddle, a stick, something, and then I'm gonna post up and wait for him to go after Miri. Then, while he's distracted, I'll rush in at the last second, rock him over the head, pick Miri up, and we both run to the range and dipski. Easy work! Well, Parker finds Miri still lying there splattered on the ground, and it turns out that she's still alive. But her leg's more broken than Cyberpunk 2077 at launch, so running away just ain't gonna work. That's when they hear Shiesty number 2 coming out to find them, so her only choice is to just play dead and hope he doesn't notice. And it almost does work until she accidentally makes a noise, but just when he's about to realize, Parker throws a rock in the other direction as a distraction. He ends up taking the bait at first, but it doesn't take long before he figures it out and locks in on the exact spot where Parker is hiding. So you know what that means, it's time to run for it. And she starts booking it down towards the lake. She makes it to the dock as the dude comes chasing after her, and manages to knock him down with a paddle to the face. And while he's recovering, she hops on a little raft and skirts up out of there Huck Finn style. But old boy ain't about to let her go so easy. Meanwhile, Miri picks herself up and stumbles back to the kitchen, where she finds the first dude just lying there murked on the ground. She's got to do something about her busted up leg, but Miri ain't no dummy, so it doesn't take her long to come up with a plan. As for Parker, she's still out there crossing the 7 seas when Broski just pops up out of nowhere and grabs her by the ankle, until suddenly he starts stabbing straight up through the bottom of the raft. So Parker starts hitting some Australian breakdance moves as she tries to avoid getting shanked. And then bam, he gets her right hand through the raft. And with no other choice, Parker decides to bail just as he starts climbing on. Alright, now I just had to chime in real quick because this right here was actually pretty comical. I'm not gonna lie, I did not expect my bro in the Shiesty to pull up in the water on some Aquaman stuff. Like, if you want to play Marco Polo, dude, just say that. But it got me thinking, what would I actually do in this situation? I mean, it seems pretty bad at first, right? Like, Buddy could be anywhere and stuff, but I'm just stuck on this raft like one of those penguins down in Antarctica trying not to get murked by Shamu. But the truth is, it's really not like that at all. First of all, though, if I decide that dipping across the lake's my only option, I'll just take the perfectly good canoe that was sitting right there. Like, why am I wasting my time with this Tom Sawyer ass raft when the thing goes like 2 miles an hour? So yeah, I would hop in the canoe and be out of there. But let's say I took the raft and this dude starts popping up. It seems like there's not much I can do, right? But that's where you would be wrong. Because for one thing, this dude's gonna be completely exhausted after swimming this far, and unless it's shallow enough for him to stand, he's gonna have to keep treading water the whole time. So if I'm on the raft, I'm not just gonna let him bully me off of it. I'll just blast the dude with the paddle like a whack-a-mole anytime he pops up, and when he's out circling the raft, I'll simply start paddling away. In a few minutes, Buddy's gonna be more worried about drowning than catching me, and just like that, he's done. Easy. Well, Parker makes it back up to dry land and stumbles up the yard until she gets to the neighbor's house, but the dude's not answering the door, so she decides to circle around and climb in through an unlocked window. But Ski Mask is still right behind her, and from the blood trail, he can tell that she must be close by. She decides to hide and wait for him to pass before getting up and heading to the kitchen, but that's when the neighbor pops out with the boomstick, and he's about to blow her head smooth off until he realizes who she is. Well, I guess that's it, cause now this should be easy, right? But psych, because as soon as he lets his guard down, Shiesty pulls up and cuts this dude's neck before he even knows what hit him, making 3 down with 2 more to go. So Parker immediately dips back out the way she came, but this dude picks up the shotty and starts blasting straight through the door like Buddy is no joke. But she makes it outside and takes off through the woods with this guy still chasing after her. While back at the house, Miri grabs an electric carver and crafts herself a cast out of a broken chair. Like, alright Bob the Builder, I see you. So yeah, now at least she can sort of walk again, but then out of friggin' nowhere, Brody with the busted face comes back to life and starts trying to grip her up. But Miri is about that action, and just when it looks like he's got her, she grabs a knife off the floor and sticks dude straight in the neck. And yeah, now he's definitely not getting up. So that makes 1 Shiesty down with 1 more to go. Damn, girl! It looks like Miri just caught a body. And with a broken leg as well, that's pretty clutch, I'm not gonna lie. And it's a good thing that she's back there holding it down, because it seems like Parker's just out here doing random side quests or whatever. But I know exactly what I would do if I was in her situation. Now, Parker probably thought she was Gucci when she got to the neighbors and saw old Buddy pull up with the blammer, but then he just got instantly murked. And this whole thing turned into a huge waste of time. But when you think about it, this guy had a shotgun, a phone, and I'm gonna assume a car of some kind. mind. And that's all S-tier goop right there. So instead of running all the way back around the lake, here's what I would do. First, I'm gonna keep running until I break his line of sight. Then I'm gonna use a move called the J-hook. Basically, you find some cover, then you hook back around until you're behind the guy that's chasing you, and once I pulled that off, the rest would be simple. Like, I would just double back to the neighbors, pick up a shotgun and some ammo, look for a cell phone or a landline, and then I would call for help. Then I'll look for the car keys. That way I can drive back to the house, scoop Miri, and dip out. And if Buddy runs up, he's gonna be hit with the boomstick. So yeah, either way, it's handled. No problemo. Back outside, Parker keeps dipping through the woods with the other guy right behind her until finally she ends up making it to a road. She can hear the dude closing in, so she ducks down and takes cover behind some bushes. And luckily enough, it seems like the plan actually does work. So once the coast is clear, she gets up and starts creeping away in the opposite direction. But then suddenly the dude jumps out of the shadows and tackles her to the ground. So Parker starts fighting back as he pulls out the blade and starts going for the kill. But that's when they see a pair of headlights coming up the road and she manages to rock Buddy with a stick while he's distracted, giving her another chance to run for it. So it looks like she's saved, right? No. Wrong again, buddy, because this lady is a total health nut. And even though Parker is clearly being chased by a killer, she's all like, "You gotta put your mask on before I'll let you in." Well, the good news is, she has an extra, so it looks like Parker's finally getting out of here. But then the lady just sits there staring at her until Parker starts to get all sleepy, because it turns out that she's in on it as well. Yeah, 3 killers, you guys. And the mask has already been diddified, so there's nothing Parker can do as she suddenly passes out. Back at the crib, Miri sees the hoopty pull up and knows that there's about to be trouble, but these two have no idea that she's still alive, so they just casually walk in and dump Parker on the couch. Miri takes cover in the kitchen and watches as these freaks start jabbing a Q-tip in her friend's nose. Yeah, they're actually COVID testing her for whatever messed up reason, but it'll all make sense soon enough. Well, Parker wakes up surprised that they haven't killed her yet, but first it's time to find out who the hell these people are. It turns out the dude in the shiesty was their son, but it gets worse because that's when they pull up their video of her making out with that rando at the party. Now, Parker still isn't sure what they want from her, but the truth is that rando was their other son. Keyword being was, because guess what? After the party, Buddy got sick with COVID and straight up freaking died. So yeah, without even knowing these people, Parker packed up not just one, but both of their kids. And honestly, I can see why they're ready to crash out. Now, while they're busy explaining all of this stuff, Miri sneaks over to her laptop and starts trying to message the police for help. But the messages are not going through. And meanwhile, the 2 boomers over here start choking Parker with a shopping bag just to make her feel what it's like. Oh yeah, and that dude Tyler from the very beginning, you remember him? Well, these freaks traced it back and found out that he was the one who infected Parker. So that's why he had to get clapped too. As for DJ and Miri, they were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the worst part is, Parker didn't even know that she was sick. But the test results are in, and yeah, she's got the bovid, big time. So now it's time for her to pay the price. Well, just then, the husband notices that someone's on the Wi-Fi, while at the same time, Miri fires off a message to her dad, but he unplugs the router before she knows if it went through. And when he looks out the window, he realizes that Miri is still alive. So these two start freaking out now that their plan is falling apart, and the husband goes out looking for Miri while the wife stays back to keep an eye on Parker. But yeah, that was her biggest mistake. Alright, you guys, now we finally know what these people wanted from Parker and her friends. So I guess if they just stayed home instead of going to that COVID party, then they wouldn't have even ended up in this situation. But even though this seems a little tricky, these people are honestly dumb as hell. So getting out of this is gonna be a piece of cake. Now with Parker trapped on the couch and Miri having a busted leg, they'd be in some pretty serious trouble if they had to face these guys 2-on-2. But now that the husband just slipped up and left his wifey all by herself, this gives them a perfect chance to strike, so here's what I would do. First though, what's different about these two compared to most other slashers is that they're legit health nuts. Like, they're both absolutely terrified at the idea of catching COVID. But now that Parker knows she's positive, she can literally use the virus as a weapon. So as soon as these freaks said that I was sick, I would just start coughing and spitting and sneezing all over them like a daycare in the middle of December. And then, even if they did smoke me, they'd already be infected, so I'll still clutch the dub even from the grave. Yeah, that's where the next part of the plan comes in. Now that it's just these two and this frail old lady, the girls could work her easily in the 2v1, so here's what needs to happen. First, Parker starts coughing right in the woman's face to distract her. Then, while she's not paying attention, I'd grab a weapon from the kitchen, sneak up from behind her, and knock this old lady's lights out before she even knows what happens. Then we can find Parker's keys and hop in the range, or grab this lady's keys and dip in the hoopty. And we'll be long gone before the other guy ever comes back. Parker starts trying to convince the woman to just let her friend go, but that's when Miri stands up from behind the counter and signals for Parker to play it cool. So Parker keeps distracting her by bringing up all the reasons why they'll probably just get caught. You know, fingerprints, DNA, that kind of stuff. But the woman says that she's already got that covered, because once they're done, they're just gonna burn the whole freaking house down, and then there won't be any evidence left. Well, she's about to start carving up our girl when Miri picks up a glass bottle and just absolutely cranks her straight through the back of the head. And then Parker jumps into action as the lady stumbles away and straight up lays her out right through the glass door. It looks like she's murked, but the other dude is still out there, and as they stumble for the door, he ends up blocking their path. So they have to dip upstairs real quick and find somewhere to hide. Well, it doesn't take him long to notice the blood trail, so he starts slowly creeping his way up the stairs. But the moment he turns his back, Miri suddenly pops out with the carver and slices his damn Achilles tendon. And Parker blinds him with some hairspray and shoves him over the railing. And before he even knows what hit him, Buddy tumbles over the edge and gets straight up impaled by the giant antlers, making 3 down with no more to go. Looks like a flawless victory, right? But hold up, it's not over yet, because the girls still need to get themselves to a hospital. So Parker helps her friend across the field to the barn where her family keeps their UTV. They should be able to cruise right out if they can get it started, but the thing is not firing up. And as Parker runs to go get the fuel, the freaking lady comes back and starts chopping at her with an axe. Parker then uses the gas can to block the attacks and ends up covering the lady in fuel in the process. But this freak just ain't giving up, and she pins Parker down on the workbench as she's about to chop her head off. But Parker hits her with that Uno reverse and manages to knock her back. And that's when Miri comes in clutch and lights old girl up with a sparker, causing her entire body to burst into flames. Panicking, the woman dips out the door and takes off running down the street like a chicken with its head cut off until she finally collapses right in the middle of the road. And yeah, I guess you could say that she's cooked. But while Shorty's over there fire burning on the dance floor, the girls look out over the mountains with a newfound appreciation on life. Like they may have just caught their first bodies, but the future's low-key looking pretty bright, except for my boy DJ, of course. But hey, win some, lose some, I guess. But that's when they hear the sirens approaching in the distance, which means that Miri's text got through after all. And they both go walking out to meet the officers, who just pull up on this lady's flaming body and they're like, leaving her there? I don't know. I guess they didn't want to ruin the girl's aura shot. But yeah, it looks like Parker and Miri are going to be best friends forever. And in the end, that makes 3 victims and 3 killers down with 2 lucky survivors. But if there's one lesson we can all learn here, it's that the only way to truly beat COVID is with the power of friendship. Sick 2022, and yeah, this movie was sick. Like the whole middle second act was like its own movie into itself. Solid production values, COVID era slashers, where you at? But if you guys would have done anything differently in today's episode, you gotta let me know what that would have been down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe. Check out this How to Beat playlist for more videos just like this one. I'm Ben. We'll see you in the next video and have a damn good day.